Hey everybody, Dark Harvester here. This video is going to be about Ranger multiclassing. What perks do you want? What skills do you want? The playstyle, the likelihood that you're going to get a perk or a skill from another class. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Hey, I just wanted to interject real quick and say this is not out yet. This multi-class feature is not out yet. So this is just taking the information that we currently have, which is that you hit level 100 on a couple classes. You can then spec into another class that you've hit 100 with, and you'll get an RNG element towards picking perk skills and spells. But with that being said, things might change, and that's okay. Also, my opinion is not anything except an opinion. So by all means, if you agree, disagree, whatever, just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear the different builds and different thought processes that you have on what would make Ranger an awesome, exciting, and fun character. When you're playing as a Ranger, you're dealing physical damage from afar. That's what you want to do. If you're up close in melee, then you should just be playing a fighter. You should just be playing a barbarian. So first class we're going to talk about is fighter, right? So this is a ranger multi-classing into a fighter. You're going to roll, you're going to get a certain amount of perks and skills available, okay? So going through the fighter real quick, adrenaline spike, it gives you a little bit of action speed. Quickfire gives you 50% action speed. Adrenaline spike only gives you 15. So adrenaline spike is a significantly worse quickfire. Barricade is defensive. Combo attacks only for melee. Counterattack is only for blocking. Defensive mastery is plate. Dual wield, if you're going to play dual wield, then you should just play Slayer Fighter, not Ranger. Projectile resistance is just for tanking. Shield mastery is for blocking. Slayer, again, is for Slayer Fighter. Swift is reduces armor speed penalty. Completely not worth using as a Ranger who's not running plate. Sword mastery you could use with your rapier, but no. Weapons mastery, you don't need anything that's not a ranged weapon that's already available. So none of these perks are good. They're not synergistic with Ranger, with the exception of if you go like sword mastery, dual wield, combo attack, but that's just a Slayer Fighter build. At that point, you would be a weaker Slayer Fighter with the ability to have a bow that could use like a triple shot. So it's something you could consider. I wouldn't play like that. Going down to the skills, Adrenaline Rush is 15% action speed, which is just a significantly worse quickfire. And this has a downside of, losing action speed, movement speed once it ends. Breakthrough, we're not worried about. Slow debuffs. Perfect block, that's defensive. Second wind, healing, that's for frontline. Shield slam, we're not using a shield. Sprint is useful. It's not DPS, but it allows you to get in and out of situations. Taunt, we're not worried about. And Victory Strike. Victory Strike is good. Definitely strong for Ranger. That being said, your one skill, maybe 2 out of 8. None of these perks are worth it. That's 12 perks. So if you're rolling fighter, just to get the Victory Strike or just to get the sprint, it's not worth it, okay? It's going to take you too long to level up the fighter and to get the appropriate rolls, right? Because you're not going to utilize any of these perks. So I don't think multi-classing into fighter is the way to go. Now, the exception is if you're running like a spear and you want to you want to have high PDR, and you maybe want to go with Swift, and you want to go with combo attack, where you're able, or adrenaline spike and adrenaline rush. So you're proccing the adrenaline rush, and then you proc the pin shot, and then you have the adrenaline spike when your health gets low, and you're hitting the combo attack for the 10% physical damage bonus. That's cool, but the problem is that's not ranged play. So if you're going for a spear build, so I would say some of the builds while specking into this is crossbow mastery, pin shot, victory strike, spear, pin shot, victory strike for the DPS, and then you could do like a Slayer Ranger, which is just you would run the combo attack, dual wield, Slayer, and then you would have a bow, like a long bow or a recurve bow with triple shot, so that you could have that range. You should poke, and then you get to run in and engage melee and win that fight with Slayer. But my opinion is, if you're playing Slayer, then you should just be playing fighter. Next is barbarian. So as a ranger, multiclassing into barbarian, we're looking at crush. Could be completely busted if you can just shoot a door. It's like when the barbarians were able to throw their Francesca axes and break the door. That would be broken. You know, axe specialization you're not using. Berserker you don't want to use because it involves you missing health. Carnage, you don't need the armor rating. Executioner's axes. Iron Will is defensive. Morale boost is gaining health on kill. Potion chugger you don't need. Robust is just health. Like, right, all of these are great perks for a barb who's frontline, not a ranger. Savage is good. Savage, you don't wear a chest piece, you get 10% physical damage bonus. Treasure slings you don't need, and two-hander, you would only use that if you're running the spear build. So really the only perk, crush would be busted, and savage is good. Skills, Achilles, completely broken. Completely broken. You hit one shot with Achilles with your bow, and then you're getting free headshots because of how slow they are. It's like the impaired movement perk that Ranger has, except instead of having to shoot their legs, you can hit any part of their body. Blood exchange, not good. Rage is good. That's move speed and that's strength. So you lose PDR, but it doesn't matter because you have the distance in between your enemy. So Achilles is busted. Rage is really good. Reckless attack, 85% armor pen. Now, while this is active, you lose 200 armor rating, right? So basically you'll be one shot, but it doesn't matter because you're going to have the distance. So reckless attack, completely busted. 85% armor pen. Psh, you talking about a windless crossbow with 85% armor pen and pen shot or true shot? Like, come on. One hit kills all day long. So Achilles is great. Rage is great. Reckless attack is great. Savage Roar, no. You're not going to run Savage Roar. War Cry, you're not going to run. And War Sacrifice is +5 all addy, so that's going to be your dex. That's going to be your agility. That's going to be your strength. All good stats to increase while you're fighting as a ranger. You lose 10% of your max HP, so you're probably around 100 to 120 health. So you're losing 10 to 12 health. But for that little bit of stat bonus, I would put that like in the C tier, like the B or C tier. But especially with all the +2 addy gear anyway that you already have in this patch. But the Achilles and the Rage and the Reckless Attack are awesome. Awesome. I can't wait to get some of those with the Ranger build. So some of the builds with this would be like Savage, Crush, Achilles, Triple Shot, Longbow with Pen Shot and Reckless Attack to your one shot at your two-shotting the fighters. Survival Bow with Rage and Achilles, and that's just you running people down. So I would say Barb's pretty good. Let's go to Rogue. And we're going to look at... Okay, so... Well, Ambush. 50% physical damage bonus with your first shot. Obviously, you'd have to be running Hide. Okay, but I still think that's busted when you're running a crossbow or a windlass. Because you hear him coming, you hit the Hide, you proc the ambush. You can get up to 30, 40, 50% physical damage bonus with a big ranger kit anyway. You're adding 50% more on that. You're hitting absolutely massive numbers. Absolutely insane numbers. Back attack, busted. Like, you're playing on Ruins, you're playing on any map, and you get a flank. Ruins is just easiest to get flanks, but you're getting the flank, and you're hitting 30% extra damage on your headshot? Insane. Not worried about creep. Daggers we're not using. Double jump is good. It's really, really good on Ruins. You can get to crazy locations on, in Hell and Crypts and stuff. It allows for more mobility, which is good. If you can get to a spot as a ranger that no one else can get to, and they can only contest you with ranged missile spells or arrows, that's good. Hide Mastery we wouldn't use. Jokester you're not using. Pickpocket you're not using. Poison Weapon, phenomenal. You run a Survival Bow, quick fire, quick shot, poison weapon build, you're just poking away. You're chipping away at their health. Now, remember, with Ranger, you have like a negative 25% magical power bonus. Same with the Rogue. So it's magical damage, so it scales So you can make a build that would allow for your poison to deal more damage. Stealth, you're not going to use. Thrust, you're not going to use because thrust is with a dagger. And traps and locks. Lockpicking is really good. I wouldn't bring it, especially with threes, because you just want your offensive capabilities as a ranger. But as a solo player, if you're bringing lockpicking and you have the enhanced hearing with the chase perk, which are now combined, that allows for good treasure hunting. Caltrops, you're not really gonna use. Cutthroat's busted. Like, I'm talking busted, dude. Cutthroat is fucking phenomenal. If you're in an engagement and you can just prevent them from using skills and spells for a couple seconds, and your buddies get in there, and yeah. Hide, of course, you're gonna want to use for the ambush proc. Rupture's good. It's dealing that additional physical damage. I like that. Smoke pot, you're not gonna use. Tumble, you're not gonna use. Weak point, super good. Weak point is, I mean, if you got that, like, imagine this: survival bow, quick fire, it would be survival bow, weak point, quick shot, poison weapon, right? You're reducing the armor rating by 30%. You're stacking that poison, and you're just boom, 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 boom. Super synergistic. Some of the builds: ambush, back attack, sharpshooter, poison weapon, weak point, and quick shot. Double jump, rupture, quick fire, and you're getting to those elevated positions, not allowing them to attack you. I think rogue's really good. Next up is... So next up is a wizard. So the thing with wizard, right, you're a ranger, and you're speccing into wizard. You're not using any of these perks. I mean, you can use Ice Shield and Reactive Shield for, what, a little bit of tankiness? And you're sacrificing offensive capabilities for that? I completely disagree with that. For your skills, you're just... I mean, you're not... No, it's just not good. Like, a wizard... Speccing into wizard would allow you to have range capabilities to deal with armor wearers, right? Or to expend light orbs to find rogues. But you're sacrificing all of your DPS perks for essentially what would be you just playing the ranger or the wizard class. So if you want to play wizard, main wizard, and then you could spec into some melee, but wizards just require too many of their own perks and skills. It's not synergistic with ranger. So, like, let's say that we did go into skills. What are you going to use, right? Are you switching to your ranged weapon or your spell book and going for magic damage? You could pull out a zap, or you could pull out a fireball or a chain lightning. But in my opinion, like, if you're going to do that, you should just be maining wizard anyway, and then speccing into another class like warlock. Like, get yourself some warlock spells as a wizard player, or some cleric spells. So, you know, you can't ignite your own bow because the bow can't cast the spell ignite. You could send out a light orb. You could slow, but like if you're slowing, like you might as well just be shooting. So, I don't see a whole lot of synergy with a ranger speccing into a wizard. The same exact thing goes for the warlock, right? So if you're speccing into a warlock as a ranger, what are you going to bring? Because these perks do nothing for you. Like, they actually don't do anything. Okay? So it just doesn't make sense to spec into them. What, you're going to turn into a demon and then go melee and not use any of your ranged perks? Like, no. Yes, you can use Blow of Corruption. You know, 15 magic damage and reduce their healing. Okay, that's good, but that's the only thing that's good. You could Phantomize and, like, run away, but again, that's not offensive capabilities. Like, spells, let's check out the spells. What spells would you use? Power of Sacrifice, okay, and Bloodstained Blade. Okay, sure, those are good, but there's 3, 6, 9, 12, there's 13 spells, and you're trying to get, what, 2 of them? It's not worth it. So don't spec into Wizard, don't spec into Warlock as a Ranger. You're just going to be, you know, you're at the mercy of RNG, right? So you're going to be given a lot of perks and skills, and eventually when you unlock the spell memory, then you'll be given the spells, and you don't want to waste all your time collecting pieces to your puzzle that you can't use, right? So that's just my recommendation. Let's go to cleric, and we'll check these out. So cleric, right? We're not healing. We're not using blunt mastery. You could brewmaster, right? You could bring ale, and that gives you strength, and then brewmaster would make it so that you don't, experience the sway, which you can't use. Some classes, most classes can use drink ale without worrying about it, even without this perk, because like a barbarian with a war maul or a Zweihander, you can just swing, and it doesn't matter. With ranger, you can, if you're drinking ale and you're swaying, like, you're not going to hit your shot, so it's completely unplayable. So you could use brewmaster. You could bring faithfulness, because faithfulness gives you divine magical bonus, which would play with your smite. It would play with your judgment. If you're not bringing any of these heals or defensive perks, undead slaying would be good. 20%, that just gives you basically a better divine bow, and it would be strong for bossing. So I say undead slaying is good, and you could utilize brewmaster. So that, or I guess the faithfulness for the smite. So that's 3 out of 12, not great numbers. And the skills, divine protection, you would only use that if you're like running spear build, going melee. Holy purification, not worried about the PvE. Judgment's good, right? Judgment does a little bit of damage and it slows. So the question is, can you judgment, right? Can you Pika them? And then they're still slow, so that when you switch to your bow, do you get an easier headshot? That's something to think about. Smite would be really good with like survival bow. Like, let's say you're running faithfulness with smite with triple shot. You proc the smite, boom, boom, boom. You're running survival bow. That's 4 shots, all with magical damage. So that's good. Let's check out the spells. Spells for cleric that you'd want as a ranger who's multiclassing into cleric. You would want a bless, that gives you the strength. That also increases your other spells. Then you want a divine strike. So now you have additional damage for your bows. Not bad. If you're going to bring heals for your team, right? You're not gonna have a ton of will, so your heals are not going to be giant, but it's something that you could utilize. It wouldn't be completely wasted. So a cleric, you'd be running the buff yourself, buff your boys, and then you win the team fight, and then you get a little bit of heals back. But 1 or 2 builds you can think about with this would be brewmaster, faithfulness, undead slaying, sharpshooter, smite, and quick shot. Okay, that's some DPS. You also got judgment with shotgun, right? So you're running the you judgment them, you Pika them, and then you walk in with the multi-shot and you shotgun them in the face because they're slowed. That's another play too. Let's go to Bard. So music, instrument, resourcefulness. Jolly time is drinking some more ale. Lower interaction speed. PDR. Rapier mastery. Okay, you could utilize rapier mastery as a ranger. Attacking with an instrument. Storyteller is just a buff for your teammates. Superior dex. This is switching between weapons and utility items. War song is performances. You can't use any of these. The only 3 that you can utilize is rapier mastery, wanderer's luck, which wanderer's luck, like, who cares? Luck are now on rolls in gear, so you're always gonna have luck if you want luck in your build. And then storyteller is good for if you're running a cleric and a warlock or a wizard. But it doesn't help you at all. So really, you can just run rapier mastery. There's like 3 perks out of 12 that maybe you could use. Dissonance, I mean, encore, party maker, like, we're not using any of these. So let's pretend that we're using Bard for the only other reason, which is instruments, right? So you could bring in an instrument and get your buffs off on your allies before a fight, and then switch to your longbow or your bow, your crossbow, recurve, whatever. But you now don't have any of your bard perks. So if you're running your bard perks and your instruments, then you should just be maining bard, right? I'm gonna play a little bit more with specking into bard and getting our buffs off. Some people would say the two birds with one stone aspect of having your ranged player also be your buff guy, because you can buff them in and then you just switch your bow and then your whole team's buffed. It's something to think about. I'll look more into it. And those are all the classes. So to recap, barbarian and rogue provides the most synergy with DPS ranger. I think poison weapon, ambush, cutthroat, and weak point are very, very powerful. I also think that rage, Achilles, and reckless attack are super strong too. I think that warlock, wizard, specifically, if you want to spec into that, you should just be playing those two classes. I just don't know why you would want spells and a bow. Like, you're taking too much time switching between weapons while you're fighting. And then bard, I need to look more into. My initial thought was kind of useless into multiclassing, but thinking about it and getting those instruments off and then switching to your bow while you're having all those buffs maybe is something to look at. So in the comments below, tell me what you think, and like and subscribe for more content. I'm going to throw my Twitch and Discord in the description, and I appreciate you all tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.